why you wouldn't get all the money.
It doesn't matter, even after it's taxed.
Even after
if
taxes.
they take half of it.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I think they take like 35% just if you
It
take
depends
the
on
lump
how you
sum.
decide, yeah. How
And
you decide
then,
to pay it
well,
out.
for, the lump sum is the best way to do it. Because when you do payment installs, a lot of times in the contract, the payment installs stop after a certain amount of years, so you won't be getting the full amount anyways, even if you do like installations. And then also on those the installations, you still have to pay all those taxes on those. So they're
Either way,
I
it's more than enough money.
That's
than I
more
would
money
ever
than
need.
any of us will see it in our lifetimes.
So
I think that it's worth it.
I mean,
I would take all the money at once, and I'd have to. I don't know, but at the same time, I don't know that I could trust myself not to just spend it.
Okay, let's do the show.
All right, hey guys,
oh, are we doing the
welcome
show?
to the Say Continue podcast. My name is Ryan Robinson. That's Tom Shelby.
Hello.
I almost called you Shanee Howard. You ain't though. That's Shanee Howard.
Sup?
Every week we get together and we talk about video games, and hang out and talk about the lottery. Tom, what have you been up to this week?
Just work and a lot of Metal Gear.
How are both of those things going for you?
Pretty well.
Good.
About 35 hours in on Metal Gear
Okay.
and only 20% done.
Mm.
But I'm really enjoying it.
Mm.
And, I know a lot of people have complaints about the way this game ends. So I'm waiting for that to happen.
Yeah. What about you, Shanee?
So I was playing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Donkey Kong.
That's what I
You
said.
said Dong Kong.
Yeah,
Did I really?
Yeah.
you did last
I wasn't
week,
gonna
too.
stop you, but Tom did.
Okay. Anyways,
Dong Kong.
so I was playing that, but then Berta got me God of War, so now I've been playing that and just loving it.
So you just dipped on Donkey Kong.
No, just Donkey Kong.
You're like, fuck this, I'm gonna go play God of War.
Yes.
Man, I have not played God of War, but I would wager that Donkey Kong Country is probably a better game.
Well, I'm getting more enjoyment out of God of War.
Sure.
I'm better at Donkey Kong, but I'm also playing with Funky, and
Yeah.
apparently that's easy mode. So.
Not apparently, actually.
Yeah. Literally, that's easy mode.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I just feel like when you say apparently, that's like a really it's just
You could argue.
Yeah, you could
otherwise.
argue that that's false.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's in last week y'all enlightened me. So if they're listening and they listened to last week's, yeah, no, I'm aware of it now.
Okay.
So that's why I said apparently, because y'all educated me last time.
Sure.
Anyways, but yeah, I'm playing God of War, loving it a lot.
Mhm.
I've already gushed to you guys about things I like about it.
Yeah.
I think it's a really, really fun addition to the God of War series. And yeah, I like it a lot. I've mentioned before, part of the reason I like to get God of War is mythology, and I like that it's in a different area, but it's still, I don't know, it's good. It's good.
Have you played Hellblade?
Hellblade? Am I thinking of the right game? Is it a girl protagonist, red hair, long, kind of circular scythe thingy that she takes care of?
No.
What does she have?
You were right all the way up until the scythe part.
She has a sword.
She has a sword.
Sword.
And her boyfriend's head.
Yeah, her boyfriend said
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about
Just
this.
like Lollipop Chainsaw. Except that head didn't talk. You should play Hellblade if you haven't, though.
Because it covers both Celtic and Norse mythology,
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Throughout an actual time in history, during an invasion. It's pretty interesting.
And it's only about 6 hours long. So you could probably get through it in a sitting if you were inclined. And the story's really good. Play it with headphones, though.
Yeah, play with headphones. Play it on Steam.
Yeah.
Why do I need headphones?
The game does a lot of really cool stuff with sound design, and one of the things that I found just amazing, so Senua, the protagonist of the game, she hears voices, and it's constant that she hears these voices, and when you hear them through the headphones, when you listen to them through the headphones, it just feels like I don't know. It's hard to describe, but like it feels like they're in your head too.
It adds a great deal
Yeah.
to the experience. The voices were recorded using this really strange microphone that mimics a human's head in actual 3D space.
Yeah.
So if you're playing with like a surround sound headset, that's the way to play that game.
Yeah.
Also,
Nice.
they'll help you. Like if you're in a fight and someone's coming up behind you, they will make you aware of that.
Yeah, but sometimes they will misguide you, and also sometimes when you make mistakes like in navigation or you slip and fall or whatever, like they kind of like taunt you and say mean things about you.
Do
But
they hurt your feelings, Brian?
Well, it's a mixture of many different voices.
Yeah.
Senua suffers from like very deep psychosis.
yeah,
The game, like the first credits you see in the game, are for psychologists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and a lot of the proceeds from that game are going to help people with mental illness, so that's cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played it on PS4. I've seen what it looks like on Steam, and it's pretty fantastic.
It's a noticeable difference.
Yeah.
Now, me and Ryan only have regular PS4s.
Yeah, so
the Pro version might look way better.
yeah.
I don't know the pro either, so.
That being said, even if we had pros, I think that the computer version would probably be superior. It's got a heavy emphasis on navigation and storytelling. There is combat there, but I don't really feel like that's
On navigation, in what way?
like just walking through the environment and going through different areas, and there are some environmental puzzles to solve. Like I said, there is some combat in the game, but I don't feel that is the focus of it. I think the combat is, it's fine. It's not bad or anything, but that isn't really what I enjoyed most about the game. It's good though. You should definitely check it out. It's called Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. You didn't hear about that whole thing where they were talking about how like you can only die a certain number of times, and then the game ends. You gotta start over. You never heard about that? But it turned out to I guess it was not real. But
Is it not?
I don't know. Like there are different people who said that they found it to be not real.
There are outlets out there, like the biggest gaming outlets, that put that in their review.
I don't know. I didn't I guess I didn't die enough to find out.
Yeah.
But there are some people who were claiming that they died a bunch of times and it wasn't.
I mean, if I play it, I'm probably gonna die a lot, so I'll let you know if it happens to me or not.
Yeah. Also, what I found really impressive, aside from that being such a small team of limited resources, crafting this amazing experience, also the actress who plays Senua, that was her first role ever, and she wasn't even meant to play that character, but she was so good that they kept her.
It's Melina Juergens.
Melina Juergens, thank you. She won awards and stuff. I thought that was really neat. And after you play, you should definitely watch the documentary, or what do you call it, Dev Diary?
Well, there's a documentary that comes with the game.
Yeah.
There's dev diaries that they did for a year leading up to the game.
Yeah, you should watch those. But yeah, I wanted to I like that you guys are getting into two games that have been out for a while and had a bunch of conversation about them when they came out, and then you're getting into them as they died down. I feel like I enjoy that conversation more than when there's a bunch of hype around it and it's just it's that honeymoon period.
Yeah, I'm interested in talking with James Sandusky about this game.
Yeah.
This was one of the first games we ever talked about on this podcast.
Mm-hmm. Because we started this podcast around when that game came out.
Yeah, and I was very excited for it. Didn't play it for reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Have since purchased it, and I really am enjoying it. But the whole story thing, I don't think it's going to bother me the way it bothered a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I want to get his take on it.
Yeah. I think that is a lot of people who are really invested in the Metal Gear mythology.
I am invested in the mythology, but I feel like this, if it ends the way I'm assuming it's going to end, the way that people had complained about it ending, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing I like about not necessarily joining in the beginning, is there's a couple chests and areas within God of War
Mm.
that I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing. Or I'm like, I don't know where, like, I have to collect like 3 of something. I'm like, where the fuck is the third one? And I'm just doing circles around, and there's nothing to like mark like, oh hey, it's in this area, or like look for it here. So I'll just do a quick Google, and I'm like, am I an idiot, or do I have to keep progressing?
Is that just the Google search you type in?
Yes. Am I an idiot? God of War.
Yes, idiot.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks, Google. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know, there's just, like, certain things where I'm just like, fuck, I'm tired of trying on this thing.
Yeah.
And...
It's to the point where it's not fun anymore, and you're frustrated.
Yeah, but, like, there's only, like, 9 of these things, and I, like, need to get this one because there's so few of them, and they, like, really help a lot.
What are they?
They're, like, if you collect enough of these things, then, like, every 3 of them, then your health or your rage goes up.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's...
So they're like the eyeball / feather dealies.
Yeah.
2 scoops of eyeballs.
But these are horns and apples?
Sure.
I don't remember.
Sounds like a good board game.
But yeah, so it's just like, so they have like locks on them, and they're like Nordic symbols, and like you have to hit these marks, and some of them are like a timed thing where you gotta hit like these marks like within a certain time, and some of them are like little relics that you destroy.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the relics, I looked fucking everywhere and I could not find this, and then so I finally looked it up, and I have to like go back, I have to backtrack, go to this area, look in this specific spot, and then at this corner I can finally see this ruin, and even then you can barely make it out. I'm like, it's a slightly different color rock than all the other rocks, so I think it's that one. Like, it doesn't even show you the symbol where I was looking. So I was like, how the fuck would I have gotten that?
I found that the things like that frustrate me the most, for me, in my experience, like it was always, like there were like 1,000 times when I looked right at it and it was in the most obvious place and I just missed it.
There's also something, I mean, same stuff with the God of War that I always like, some of the puzzles and stuff like that. I've always really liked those and trying to figure those out when they're not, like, always super obvious.
Yeah.
Because, like, I
Aren't they
mentioned...
though?
Some of them aren't.
I remember...
Some of them I have to, like, go... Because, like, I'm the kind of person who likes to go and destroy every pot, like, thing like that we talked about before.
Yeah.
And that, like, God of War is, like, rewards you for that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's, like... I mean, sometimes it ends up biting me in the ass, because then, like... for other reasons, but... most of the time, I'm like, oh, hey, I found this, like, secret way that, like, has all these extra things.
Yeah.
And then, like, it has a hint for this other thing.
Well, like, my experience with, like, and granted, like, I've only played 2 God of War games, and I haven't even finished the second one, but in my experience, God of War puzzles were a lot of push here and pull here.
Yeah.
These are more varied. There's definitely the push-pull ones. Those aren't always... Those honestly aren't as often as the... because you have the axe now, and so when it does frost damage, so like there's a lot of pulling chains, and while you're still holding it, throwing the axe, and you have to like find a marker to freeze the gears in place.
Okay.
So then you can go underneath something and then go to the next area, and then you have to figure, and like sometimes you have to jump and then you have to like figure out when you need to get back your axe, because you can do a recall, and then to get to the next thing, because sometimes you need it and sometimes you need it to stay there the entire time.
Right.
And then also
But like,
and then
you're talking about puzzles though. Like, does this? Because the way you're making it sound is just like basic opening of doors and whatnot, and it doesn't sound like it's something that's making you think.
Yeah.
Well, like, so right now there's, like, in the foothills, there's a lot of markers that have things you can hit your axe at, and it'll push it.
Yeah.
So it'll spin it and have different markers, and sometimes you gotta line those markers up and, like, base off clues to open doors or, like, go to the next area.
Okay.
And some of them, there's, like, traps and stuff, and, like, hidden underneath the trap is some of the markers, and you gotta figure out which one you need to hit so you can check it and make sure they're both good. And then some of them, they're like actual doors with spikes, but there'll be one area that doesn't have any spikes, and you have to like hit your axe at that, and it'll push the door. And there is like some like where you have to like, you know, do the action button to like twist it, and it'll like move things around. But I don't know. I feel like there's definitely a little bit more. There's more of a variance than past games for sure, just because the axe is an option.
Yeah.
Does your son ever help with these puzzles? Like, do you ever have to use his archery to?
So like you use your there'd be areas that apparently there's like no place for you to climb, even though you can. You're strong as fuck, and you just moved like a centerpiece in a giant lake. I don't.
Yeah,
fucking
he looks
know.
like he can climb anything.
Yeah, but apparently he can't. So you will lift your boy up and like throw him in the air, and he'll like go to the ledge or whatever, and like find chains or whatever to drop down.
Right.
And some of those you have to like destroy fake walls to get to, so you can toss them up, so you can get to this like one small area.
Mm-hmm.
So there's things like that. They're not necessarily puzzles, but just like figuring out how to get to these things.
Yeah.
He helps out in. And then I said right before, he just got his bow magicked to where if you hit these certain crystals and he says these words, then like a pathway will form. So he's now becoming more and more helpful. And they like one thing I like about the game does is when he levels up or gets better at something, they're like, oh, he gained confidence because like you're teaching him or whatever, or he's like grown stronger or whatever. And I think that's like a nice touch on as far as wording goes for immersion, because you're supposed to like, you know, care about this child, but most of the time you don't even care about any NPC hanging out with you, much less a child one.
Right.
I cared about Ellie.
Yeah, I cared about her a lot, man.
Alright.
Actually, I'm glad that Tom said that because, as far as I know, neither of us has played that game. But I do know, I'd like to hear you, because a lot of people were like immediately drew comparisons to The Last of Us with that game. How are those comparisons at all on the mark, or like is the similarities end with a father-child situation?
I guess it's just like, I think it's just more of like a teaching situation, or but I never beat Last of Us, so I don't know what the end game on that one was. But as far as like playing through it there and like what I've played, obviously I haven't beat God of War yet. I guess just because there's like, you know, parent-child relationship. But like, I don't know, there's a lot of kind of like small things, like when you're in like a boat or whatever, like rowing somewhere, like your kid will ask you to like tell him stories, and some of them are just funny, and him just being annoyed with the fucking kid, he's like, yeah, I'll tell you a story, and like it's like 3 sentences.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like fables, and sometimes it's like him like, oh, like, because you meet a ghost or like a spirit, and he's like, all spirits like that, and he's just like, you know, actually giving his opinion.
Only the dead ones.
He's like the dead don't have any needs. All they have is wants, and he's just basically, I don't care about those wants. So like, I don't know, like, and he's like, you know, and as you go through, sometimes like you'll stop to like hunt, and like the kid, and like so you're like helping the kid like shoot like animals and stuff.
Is there a point to that?
There must be.
Yeah, there is, story-wise, because it only happens kind of like, it's only happened twice so far.
Okay. So it's not a thing that you can initiate on your own, it's just, it happens at specific spots.
It happens in the story and stuff like that. But like during, so like also during some of like those, you know, the battles, like you'll go into like a new area, and like there'll be like new things, and he'll be like, oh, Mom told me about these, and like say what they are. And then sometimes he'll be like, what is that? And like you'll tell him. So I mean, I guess that's good for dialogue, like giving names to these things, and it kind of being organic. Just because I'm in like, if I saw something giant and creepy, I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. But you wouldn't swear because you're a kid.
I mean, I feel like Kratos would be okay with this kid swearing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like it's he gives like some life lessons. Like you come across these like what look like humans, and you have to kill them, and then like the son's like upset about it and like sad about it. It's like, and he's just like, you have to harden your heart, and like he gives him like lessons. He's like, gods don't care about people and stuff like that, and he's just, you know, he still gives like lessons and tries, but he's obviously always annoyed with him.
Yeah, I bet that changes over time.
Ryan,
huh?
You've also been playing God of War. Tell us about it.
Oh yeah, check this out. So I was thumbing through my Xbox 360 discs, and I found my Dante's Inferno disc, and I was like, oh yeah, and I popped that in my Xbox One, and man, that game is still badass.
I bet. I liked it when I played it. Sandy sounded like he had fun with it.
So like, one thing I don't like is whenever that game is brought up, like people immediately go to the lust circle and start talking about all the ding dongs and vaginas in that area, which I mean,
I think it's fitting.
it is, but like I've always been fascinated by representations of hell in media, and I always really gravitate toward interesting visions of that.
Hellblade.
Yeah, and I think that like, and the cool contrast between those two is the hell and Hellblade is very much a. Because I feel like the hell in Dante's Inferno is just a perpetually violent, awful place, whereas the hell and Hellblade is very much just a very somber, dark and bleak, like cold place. But one thing that what I love about Dante's Inferno is that through all the different circles, like they all just visually are just so different, and there's just so much to them.
Yeah, I like that like Gluttony was like you're inside of something. What was Greed's?
Greed was
Weren't they like
it's
in the
just-
floor
it's-
reaching out?
yeah, well, greed is just like it's gold, like everything is gold.
Okay, yeah.
And then you have, and like within that you have the hoarders and like the spenders, and like the hoarders are constantly pushing a boulder inward and the spenders are constantly pushing it outward, like and the one thing, like I guess like the irony of Dante's Inferno is that like in my second playthrough, and I don't know if it's just this because I know what happens, but in my second playthrough of that game, like, I don't particularly find the narrative of Dante trying to get his wife back to be particularly compelling.
I mean, it's something we've played 1,000 times.
Yeah, and
Save the girlfriend, save the princess,
Yeah.
whatever, you know?
Damsel in distress.
Yeah.
It's a trope for a reason.
Yeah, and like, and I get like it's like granted like the dressing around that is more interesting than most of these kinds of stories, but at its core it's still just the same thing, like just fighting my way to the final castle to save the
Find the
princess.
babe.
And
There's only one.
sure, there is only one, and Satan has her. But getting there, I think, is probably the best part of the experience. And like, and even still, like as I'm playing it, I'm thinking about like all the boss battles in that game, which I really liked, except for the last one. Because the last one is, you know, it's like you going through the game, you know who the last boss is going to be. It's obviously going to be Satan, right? But like, still, like that's it's the least fun boss fight and the least climactic as far as like how it concludes and everything. I just like in my replay I just got through past King Minos, who like in the story is somebody, he's the guy who like when you go to hell, he smells you, and then he's like, oh, that's what you did, so this is the circle of hell that you go to. And I just got past him, and it kind of really sets the tone for what a lot of these boss fights are going to be, which is like huge like set piece moments with like a lot of blood and shit going on. And I like a lot of those mechanics. But I think anybody who likes God of War would.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something like really satisfying with like God of War, Dante's Inferno about like their combos, your attacks. Like it just feels real good.
Yeah, but like
there's I don't know. I just like there's a lot of games where at certain points it just feels really grindy, and I'm like, all right, do this. But with like God of War, Dante's Inferno, Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, I always feel cool through like all of it.
Yeah, but except like I got to like I started getting really like the game starts really laying on like a part of the game that I have taken issue with for a while is the whole absolve or punish system.
Oh yeah.
Because it just at some point it just becomes like super laborious, and then later on it just starts to feel kind of trivial.
I mean, I've brought this up many times on this show, that, like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But it's advantageous for you to do so every single time.
Yeah.
And that just breaks that game for me.
Yeah. Because, like, there's these punished souls that are scattered throughout everywhere, and you choose to absolve or punish them, and it does, like, as far as, like, the actual adventure goes, like, it has zero bearing on, like, how the journey progresses, how it ends. You get, like, different stats and skills, but to Tom's point, that's, like, it acts against the whole experience, I think.
I think it acts against the narrative as well.
Yeah. Because, like, also,
who the fuck is Dante to be doing that, you know? Like,
yeah. Well, here's the thing, too, is that, like, you think about who Dante is, and he's a soldier in the Crusades, and, like, every, like, flashback sequence that it takes you to, like, he's just up his own ass with his self-righteousness, and, like, my way is right because I'm a soldier of the Lord and all this shit. So everybody who's not, like, he's like, well, you're obviously garbage because, like, I fight for the Lord and you are just some peasant, right? And so, like, I think that, like, if this were actually happening, I think Dante would just punish all those people straight up because he's very much one of those people who follows the word of the Bible, like, to the letter. So everybody is garbage, right? So, like, I don't know. I just can't see, like, I can't see him, like, seeing anything in these people and be like, you know, you deserve forgiveness, because he would just he fought in the Crusades, and that was that whole thing, right? I'm not gonna get into, like, a theological conversation, but, like, he was just, it is fiction breaking.
It's one of very few games that I could think of that I loved when it came out.
Yeah.
That I've no desire to ever play again. Like, I don't. Maybe it's because I know more now. I'm not sure, but, like, now I would probably say that's not a good game.
And I think what draws,
there are great things about it.
Yeah.
But
well, I think that what drew me to play it again, honestly, is, like I said from the top, it's just that game's vision of hell, which is really Dante Alighieri's vision of hell. But it's like there's a difference between reading it in a poem and, like, seeing it, like, displayed for you.
Yeah, because it didn't. I think when it came out, it also came with an animated movie that came with it.
There was an animated movie. I don't know that they came together.
They didn't come together, but, like, at the same time.
I feel like there was an edition that came with both of those together.
Well, there is a thing, like, in the game, like, you can watch something. I don't know, but I did watch that animated movie, and it is literally beat for beat the game.
I played through the game, but that was much later. I first watched the movie and saw somebody else playing it.
I would argue that the movie is more interesting than the game.
Yeah, no, I think I've mentioned it before on the show. I mean, not yet again, not to get, like, theological, but yeah, that really kind of turned me away from Christianity as far as my own belief system.
Well, you can
around that time,
visceral for that.
Around that time with everything. Yeah, it was just it's like a time and place, and, you know, what was going on at the time. But like, so I guess, like, I probably romanticize how good Dante's Inferno was, because I honestly forgot about the absolve and punishment.
I loved it when it came out.
I know we talked about it before, but
8 years ago, you know.
When I think about it, all I think about is the cool combos and the art.
And see, the thing about it is the combos, like, there are some cool moments with the combat. Like, there are some, like, cool, like, slow motion things with the combat. But, like, at the end of the day, though, like, it does become kind of a slog. And
I had a lot of fun.
Well, and from minute one, it's square, square, triangle, triangle,
yeah,
triangle.
and, like, they with a lot of the games of that type, like, they at the time they would try to, like, the upgrade system was all about, like, giving you more to that.
But there's no reason to use that extra stuff.
Yeah, and so, like, and I think a lot of what drove my desire to revisit that game was just I wanted to see that vision of hell again.
Yeah,
because it is terrifying.
You know, I've talked about the cutscenes. Like, I think the cutscenes hold up.
Yeah, they are.
If you put that opening cinematic up against, like, I know it's old, but, like, Diablo 3.
Yeah.
which is much higher production.
Yeah.
I think they hold up very well.
Yeah, and I think because there were times that I caught myself playing it where I was just like, for that first part of with King Minos, there are some mechanics around that fight that are like frustrating in a way that is not fun, because like some of it seems kind of arbitrary. Like when you're fighting him, he has like a few basic attacks, right? But when at points when you're fighting him, he will like bring his head down to like sniff around to see where you are.
Oh yeah.
And then you can like hit him, but he will lash his tongue out, and then it will knock you down, and then it will take you into like a weird quick time event to like dodge his tentacle strikes. But like there's no like real way to tell like where that tongue is gonna come out, and so sometimes you get lucky and it misses you, but most times you don't.
And my whole thing is like, I'm talking about the cinematics holding up. Dante's Inferno is not so old that the gameplay shouldn't hold up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we love Resident Evil,
Yeah.
but those controls are fucking awful,
Yeah.
right? But those games were great when they came out.
Yeah.
You know, Dante's
Resident
Inferno.
Evil on the Wii, still good. Still good.
Yeah, Dante's Inferno. I think like when it came out was
It's got lukewarm
not
reception.
great.
Yeah.
We just were not aware that it was not great.
Right.
You know?
I mean,
Less educated.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, like it could be like at the time there weren't a lot of games, like there weren't a lot of franchises like that, where like we had God of War, we had some Devil May Cry, but we didn't have a whole lot besides that.
I mean, like Lords of Shadows was somewhere around that time,
Yeah,
right? And like
yeah.
I think that did it better.
As a matter of fact, I think it came out before Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Didn't Infamous also come out around that time?
I wouldn't call Infamous anything like that though.
No, but but they hit a lot of the same demographic. So a lot of people were like choosing which one to play.
Sure.
I just feel like, but then again, like Infamous, like even like see that's the funny thing is like Infamous had like a fair like not as it had the same kind of upgrade system that Dante's Inferno had, but those abilities were a lot more interesting to get.
And they are two completely different genres of games.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I'm under no delusion that Dante's Inferno is a great game, because I would not call it a great game. I like what it does visually.
Yeah.
I do like the story, and I will attribute it to like it being a game that got me to read a 500-year-old piece of text, but like.
No, Infamous came out the year before. I feel like there was something else that came out around that time.
There's probably 1,000 things that came out around that time.
There were a lot of like it was kind of late in that generation, right? Like it was like it's only 3 years removed from the PS3 and Xbox One, and like by that time the Xbox 360.
The PS3 and Xbox One.
I'm sorry, PS4 and Xbox One.
Is it really only 3 years?
Yeah, because the PS4 and Xbox One came out in 2013, and Dante's Inferno came out in 2010.
Did they really come out in 2013?
Yeah, like November. I remember November 2013.
God damn.
Oh,
Yeah.
Bioshock 2 came out the same day
As well.
as Dante's Inferno. I know they got the same genre. I was like, what came out?
What is the comparison here?
Well, I guess
This was just for my own peace of mind, remembering around that time. I was like, what
Yeah.
else came out around that time? That's literally it.
Yeah, but which I would say that's kind of the same thing as what happened. Well, I guess it's closer to like that's the closest comparison would be, well, that's not even a close comparison either. And I was gonna say Metal Gear Solid and Mad Max coming out the same day, but those are also both open world games.
Yeah, those are at least like somewhat similar. You know, I mean, they are very, very, very different. But like, yeah, they're both open world games that came out on the same day, both taking place largely in desert environments.
Which is
like
it's strange for it's also strange for Visceral too, though, because like Visceral put out some of my favorite games. Like they like I will always like Dead Space. That is a game that holds up.
Yeah.
And Dead Space came out around the same time as Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, but this is Visceral's B team though.
Yeah.
Like the same name, different people making.
But that was also around the time when in that generation where you could find like a lot of like sort of budget titles that kind of did the same thing. Maybe told a less interesting story, but kind of also gave you the same kind of experience. And some of them might even done it better. But like
The Saboteur.
yeah. For example. Is a Saboteur a character action game, Shanee?
Yes.
Okay. And that's not to take away from, how great that generation was, because it is still my favorite generation by far. But
Wow.
Granted, this generation gave me my new favorite game, but like at the same time, like I feel like the last generation was like beat for beat, pound for pound, like gave me the most consistent experience year to year.
It mattered more than this generation does.
Yeah. We were getting like a lot of, and that was also like when the 360 had like so much third-party support behind it, had so many games coming out. With that library, it was just like awesome, And don't get me wrong, there have been some pretty good games that came out for the Xbox One, like exclusively, but not a whole lot of them have made me go, have like really like wowed me.
Well, and there have been very few of them.
Yeah. Even I played. I remember the last new Xbox One exclusive that I played was Gears of War 4, and that was initially impressive, and then for me very quickly became, let me go play something else. I had intended to revisit that game at some point because it is a father-son game, and I do like father-son stories.
I'm playing Father-Son Story.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, but like
So am I.
that is true. Yeah, but at the end of the day, though, like Gears of War 4 is still just more Gears of War, where God of War like had a much more dramatic shift in gameplay and mechanics, from what I can tell. I haven't played it.
Yeah.
No, there's enough that I feel
But
like
it-
the
but God
nostalgia's
of-
there, but
yeah.
there's also a lot of things that
The
have
new
changed.
God of War is more obviously different from its predecessors than Gears of War 4 is different from its predecessors.
I will say this. I personally have had some struggles with the camera in the new God of War, but I had many more.
Is it
and-
over the shoulder or how's
Yeah,
that?
it's over the shoulder.
Yeah,
Okay.
and but you can move it around, which is new.
Okay.
Hence over the shoulder.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, so like, I don't really have, but I still have much less I don't know the grammatically correct way to put this. I have fewer problems. There we go.
there you go. Yeah, got it.
Than last God of War games where I would be like doing a fight or like trying to like maneuver around and then the camera would just piss me the fuck off because I could not move it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I like it.
I think I'm just partial to fixed camera angles, maybe because we're a bit older.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the games that we played as kids were like all about that.
Like with Grim Fandango and Resident Evil and
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. Like when you can, because like here's the thing, right? We don't necessarily want this, but like once games entered the 3D space, creators started trying to make them more and more like movies, right?
Right.
That's how we got Half-Life, how we got Metal Gear, things of that nature. I am not a cinematographer by any means, and when they can take over framing for me, I like it.
Why not?
It's visually pleasing. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. Control wise, gameplay wise, I will always take
Right.
control of the camera, but
Because I can distinctly remember many times in Resident Evil 2 where I was getting the shit kicked out of me because I couldn't see what was hitting me.
Sure.
Or I had no idea how far away it was from me.
like Resident Evil and even Grim Fandango to a lesser extent are much more close in than any God of War game has ever been.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and and the thing is like I'm like with God of War, with Metal Gear Solid, even with Resident Evil, like they each had these dramatic shifts. At some point that fundamentally changed how you played the game, and Gears of War just didn't do that.
They added Laura Bailey, so
That's true.
there's that.
Yeah, and there is 100% fewer Dominic Santiago in this game.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Dominic.
Actually, no, Dombey's in that one, isn't he?
That is true. He's a
So,
skin that you can use.
there's at least a little bit of him.
There's a little bit of Dom.
No.
Like But like, I think that's kind of what turned me off to that game, right? Because like
Dombey?
No, Dombey is fine. I'm okay with him.
Okay.
I'm a Dominic Santiago advocate, regardless of how garbage that character actually is. Because, every time I think of him, I just think of him putting his wife out of his misery with that cartoonishly large gun. But, like, if someone told me that Gears of War 5 is coming out, like next month, right?
Yeah.
Like, that wouldn't excite me, like, in the least, because especially if they showed me more of that same thing. Whereas God of War was immediately compelling to me. I was like, oh, look what they're doing with that.
Yeah.
And then ahead of the release of Metal Gear Solid 5, like, them opening that world up and giving you so many more options as far as tackling objectives and all this other stuff around the core gameplay.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, this is a new Metal Gear Solid experience.
I will say, like, a lot of people compare it, and even I compared it upon only seeing the game to Peace Walker.
Yeah.
And, like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of that stuff in there.
Yeah.
But, like, it is very different than Peace
Yeah.
Walker. And a lot of that comes from the openness.
Yeah. I at the same time, it would be cool to have a Peace Walker that is running on a Metal Gear Solid 5 framework. I would like that, but because I like that, I just like that story a lot. But
Fox Engine.
Which Sony owns, so I don't know what they're not Sony, Konami owns, so I don't know what they're gonna do with that.
I'll make another machine, pachinko machine.
Yeah. Like
Metal Gear Survive.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, from what I understand, from what I've heard people talk about, the game is not as bad as you would initially be led to believe.
Survive?
Yeah.
Oh, it's fun, but like, it's not Metal Gear.
Yeah. It's just like it could have easily been any game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They put Metal Gear on it so it would sell, and it uses the same engine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But.
Speaking of, like how the Pachinko machine reminded me of, did you see about Nerf doing Overwatch guns?
Yeah.
Why has Nerf not done Keyblades yet?
How did the pachinko machines remind you of Nerf?
Because Metal Gear is not supposed to be a pachinko game, and Overwatch wasn't made for that. Whatever.
Was it made for merchandise?
Wasn't made for Nerf, but Nerf took it.
I mean, there's a bunch of guns in there. It seems like
they're a toy gun.
Why is
I don't know. That's weird because when I saw that Reaper shotgun, I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like they did Nerf did the Deadpool guns as well.
It makes sense. Yeah. Like, it's a toy gun manufacturer making
guns.
Toy guns. I don't know. I feel like it would make less sense for them to make Keyblades.
No, because they also make like swords and shields.
They do.
But
they are more well known for making guns.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, why haven't they, like, Disney's all about that merchandise.
Let me ask you this, Shanee. If Nerf made a Keyblade,
yes,
you would buy it.
Yes.
To do what with?
There are Keyblade replicas you can buy.
Yeah.
I know, but they're not Nerf.
Why do you want it to be Nerf? Then it's gonna be foamy. You want a foam sword? Get a real fucking one.
How are you gonna save?
Because
what's wrong with you?
How are you gonna save the kingdom with a foam sword?
Yeah.
Keyblades are barely swords.
So these can LARP.
There is 0 blade in a Keyblade.
100% yes.
You're gonna LARP with it.
Yeah. Are you gonna LARP with it?
Oh, well, I could actually like use it to like hit people, or Heartless, or Nightmares, or Nobodies.
Let me tell you something. If you show up here with a foam Keyblade and strike either one of us, you will get pied.
Yeah, like that is
something we've talked about for over a year.
Yeah.
What?
Like, we've abstained because we know what would happen if that were to transpire. But if you hit us with a
why do you talk so often about hitting me with a pie?
It's because it's a pie,
yeah,
and you getting hit with it.
Why me?
I don't know. I mean, we're not gonna hit ourselves with pies. What are you talking about?
You can hit each other with pies.
I will tell you this, Shanee. Tom's son at one point was regularly shooting me with Nerf darts.
True.
And I tolerated that because I love that boy, but that did not make it any more pleasurable for those darts to hit me. Now, seeing as how I didn't like that, I feel like I would like it far less if you were to hit me with a Nerf Keyblade.
Alright, what if you also have a Nerf weapon?
I don't want to, Shanee, because here's what's gonna happen. Like we'd have a Nerf battle, and then you get hit too hard, and you get upset, and the whole thing goes off the rails.
Sure, I can see that.
Based on what I saw with the combination lock, I know that you get hit with a keyblade would not go well. So I don't want to risk that.
Combination lock.
You don't remember when you blew your gasket trying to figure out the combination lock?
Mm-mm.
Alright, you must have blacked out.
I have a memory of a goldfish.
You must have had one of those rage blackouts I hear so much about. But
oh well, was it when we were playing the game?
yeah, it was while we were playing the game. Yes.
Layers of Fear. It was.
Yeah.
I was gonna say 7 Layers of Fear, but I was like, that's probably not right.
That's right.
I was probably just thinking. I was like, I think I'm just thinking about 7 Layers of Death.
And I also think that it is something that you would buy, and you'd have fun with for maybe a week or so, and then it would collect dust in your closet or something.
We still use the.
Or your dog would fuck it up.
We still use our lightsabers.
Define use.
Yeah.
How do you use a lightsaber in a world where lightsabers don't actually exist?
Me and Berto have like lightsaber fights.
Do you?
Yeah.
Define lightsaber fight, by the way.
Can we get him on the horn?
Because I feel like lightsaber fights are like a mutual agreement that you'll always make sure to clash blades and never actually strike one another.
It's not that we try to hurt each other, but we definitely will like go for the jabs.
I'm just imagining you getting slapped across the face with one of those.
And it making the lightsaber sound effect.
Oh, we have the setting where they crash.
Yeah, so I imagine hearing that lightsaber crash sound when it hits you across the cheek.
That'd be pretty funny.
There are very few things that I feel need a real world 3D replica, and keybats are one of them. Or not one of them, rather.
Well, let me ask you how you feel about this. In looking for Halloween stuff,
Okay.
I came across not only a Freddy Krueger glove with real knives on it,
Cool.
but real Wolverine claws as well.
Also cool.
Yeah.
Those are cool.
Yeah, because like
Where did you
those are
find these?
real.
Amazon.
Okay.
Those
I
are
was like, they
real
didn't have
weapons.
those at like Party City.
Like you couldn't.
No, real, like actual metal blades.
Yeah, I was like, where did
Yeah.
you? I was like, did you go to a fair or something? Okay, got it.
A fair. I don't know if
That's what a lot of
if I
artists
showed
are.
up, Tom, and you were wearing Freddy's glove with those real knives on those fingertips, I would be very impressed.
Sure.
I have like actual batarangs that have like blades on the edges.
From GameStop.
No. Berto bought them at the Renaissance Fair.
Wait, hold on. Back up. Aren't Renaissance fairs supposed to be like all like authentic? Like it has to be all shit that was around during the Renaissance?
No.
Okay. Then I fundamentally misunderstood what Renaissance fairs were.
No, I mean they also have like wand makers.
But then again, my whole understanding of Renaissance Fair was an episode of King of the Hill where like Alan Rickman played that guy who was like the king of the fair, and then like someone mentioned laptop, and he's like, laptop? So I don't know. I guess Renaissance fairs aren't the way I thought they were. So I imagine everybody being all in character all the time.
You have lived in Texas for so long. How have you never gone to the Renaissance Fair?
They have them outside of Texas.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, I think Texas is one of the biggest ones.
Biggest?
Biggest.
Shanee, would you play a video game that was about you LARPing as someone who bought a Keyblade on Amazon?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I have to buy it?
What do you mean, buy the game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, can someone else buy it for me?
I guess your boyfriend could buy it for you.
Ryan,
Yeah, I don't
how
have a
far
boyfriend.
did you get in the Phantom Pain?
Well, I struggle to say because I feel like I don't know how far you are, and I don't want to.
I just got to Africa.
Okay, so I got a little bit past Africa, like not past Africa rather, but like I got a little bit past that point. And I don't know, like that game does some really, it starts giving you some interesting reveals around then. But I don't know if you saw any of the Child Soldier stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
They very heavily reference Lord of the Flies.
Yeah. Well, those kids, man, they seen some shit. But yeah, that's around where I got. And you are digging a lot more into the ancillary stuff than I was. But like at the same time, like, did you ever get that that Metal Gear Walker?
Yeah, D-Walker. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you like that thing?
I haven't used it, but I've used other walkers.
Yeah. I found that D-Walker is really good for fast getaways. Or
More than the horse?
That
That horse goes faster than vehicles in that game.
Yeah, that horse is really fast. But D-Walker is good for very entertaining fast getaways. Because that D-Walker comes in, and you're like, let's go, and he's just like...
Oh, yeah. So I've seen the way that one moves. I haven't actually done it yet, though.
Because he has the walking mode, then he has the wheel legs mode.
Right.
But, like, you were playing that game in a very... You were playing that game in the way that I realized that I should start playing stealth games so that I can cut down the frustration for myself. Because the way that the way that I've always played stealth games, right, is if I get made, then I'm just like, well, checkpoint time.
Oh, yeah, no.
And whereas you, like, if you get made, then you're like, well, let's adapt to the situation. Granted, it doesn't always go well for you.
Yeah.
But, like, you just kind of keep going, like, well, I guess this is a gunfight now.
Right.
Which is better because of how many guns that game has. And I feel like there are it's the same problem that I ran into with Metal Gear Solid 4, where the game gives you, like, all these different guns.
Yeah.
But, like, if you're playing stealthily, like, most of those guns are useless to you.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you play in a way where you could potentially, while also staying true to the stealth emphasis of that game, you also have because I've seen you make use of that of assault rifles on more than one occasion. Like, the guy sees you and you're like, well, fuck it, and then you start loading into the guy. Like, I will say this: your Metal Gear Solid 5 missions involve a lot more grenades than mine ever did.
But I think you'd be surprised though, because even though that's the case, I'm pretty regularly getting A and S ranks.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, because I came across a social media post that I made around when I was playing that game a lot, and I was certain that I totally botched a mission.
Yeah.
And I came out with an S rank.
So I think the big thing is, like, there's a time bonus attached to those rankings.
Yeah.
And typically going in with a machine gun and mowing guys down is a lot faster than sneaking through and taking them out one by one.
Yeah.
So even if you don't do it super clean, if you get it done fast, that helps a lot.
Yeah. But then Metal Gear Solid has always, like, it's always very passively encouraged you not to kill anybody.
Sure. And I've done a lot of missions where I haven't.
Yeah.
But, for the most part, like, for early game, I'm, like, full sneaking every dude I can get my hands on, right? Because, like, you just need the numbers. It doesn't matter if they're good or not. You need X amount of dudes.
Hey, you want to come home?
Yeah, but, like, now I've gotten to the point where, like, if they're not above an A rank, they're not coming home.
You become a little bit more...
So I may as well kill them,
Yeah, you become a little bit more distinctive about...
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I started doing it, too. But it was, like, one of the things that, like, I never got past in that game is, like, every time I see, like, a shipping container, like, I'm always just like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go grab that thing.
Yeah, of course.
It's never not satisfying to grab that shit.
Yeah.
And, like, grabbing tanks and grabbing, like, vehicles and all that shit. And around when I was playing that game, I went through, like, a shitty breakup, so I kind of shifted my attention from it for a while. But I would like to revisit that game.
Well, did you unlock the zoo?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
That's why, like, when we were playing it last time, I was like, how many animals you been saving?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see what your zoo looked like.
Yeah, so it's not determined by how many animals you have. The zoo can open up when you have very few animals.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been trying to get more of them.
And you've got Quiet at this point, right?
Yeah, I've got all the buddies at this point. I don't much care for Quiet yet, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I started using Quiet a lot more when I got her outfitted with tranquilizer darts.
Sure, absolutely.
And like that, like especially like when I want to get through a mission without killing anybody.
Yeah. And
some of these guys are out of reach.
And I like Quiet as a character.
Yeah.
Hopefully she'll become more useful to me later on.
Yeah, there are some kind of awkward scenes with her in them, but then again, every game in Metal Gear Solid has some kind of awkward scene with a lady in it. But I was thinking about stealth in games, right? And I was thinking about when I first saw Assassin's Creed Origins, when we were first watching during that E3, all those moons ago, and when I saw that like this game had a crouch button,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, they're gonna, because I always feel like Assassin's Creed was marketed as a stealth game.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But like I could never pull off stealth in any Assassin's Creed game. Like I would get a stealth kill here or there, but it like invariably like every encounter would devolve into a sword fight, and the sword, it was fun playing it that way. But I always felt like, man, this would be so much cooler if I could just get in and get out without getting seen.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing with Assassin's Creed, starting with Origins and now with Odyssey, that like, I heard somebody on a podcast talking about a few weeks ago, is that you don't actually assassinate anybody anymore. They took that part out of Assassin's Creed, you know? Like, you don't research where somebody is and try to go secretly, or not secretly, but like stealthily take them out in a very public place. Like, you don't do that shit anymore.
But like, it's usually like they're in their hideout or something like that. Like,
and it's smart. It's smart for them to have made that shift, obviously. The series is doing better for it.
Yeah.
At the same time, you know, it's like, so why is it called Metal Gear Survive? Well, it's because that name helps it sell, right? It's still called Assassin's Creed because it helps it sell. And yes, there are some Assassin's Creed staples that are still there.
But like, it's resembling Assassin's Creed less and less.
Yeah.
And like, even with Origins, it gives you, like, it's very open about its encouragement of like just open battle. Like, because it's giving you like these big battle axes and giant hammers and shit. And there's like 3 skill trees in the game, and one of those skill trees is dedicated specifically to like sword fighting and like just melee combat. And there's another tree that's like dedicated to like stealth and everything. But like and that being said, like it does have stealth is easier in this game than I'm used to. Like I did almost 0 stealth in Assassin's Creed Black Flag or any of the games that preceded it, because it was just I felt like it was really obtuse and difficult, because one part of it was this like movement in those games was always like
a little wonky.
It was wonky and unintuitive and like it just sometimes just didn't work the way that it should have.
Yeah, I had that problem a lot in 3.
But like this game it's exciting. And this character is the first that like I've truly cared about in all of the Assassin's Creed games I played. Like, granted, everybody likes Ezio and he's a cool dude, but I never cared about him or what happened to him. Whereas I think Bayek is really cool. I think he's interesting. I like his backstory, and I kind of just like his whole duty bound like super Egyptian cop guy. I think like he's basically like one man Egypt police. Because he's like, sometimes you go into a town and is like, hey, I can't find my cat. Where's my cat? And like Bayek's like, I'll help you find your damn cat. And then usually like some bandit stole the cat, so you gotta kill the bandits, and they're like, here's your cat back.
This isn't our cat.
But like they're like just last night. Just last night, I played this mission where this guy was like, I heard some noises and I got scared and I ran away, but I left my oxen back there, but I'm too scared to go back. And Bayek's like, well, I guess I'll go do that if I have time.
Yeah.
Of course you have time. Yeah. So like you go there and like there's the oxen, and and Bayek's like, oh, there you are. Let me take you back to your guy. And of course like bandits jump out. It's like, we caught you, fell into our trap. And then you gotta kill the bandits and then you take the oxen back.
See, now in that game, like, is the context of that, I'm assuming it's a side quest, does that like contextually matter? Like, does that fit? If you were that character, would you take the time out to go do that shit? You know? Because we talked about the fucking green fence in Fallout 4 and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's not
like,
I mean, do like the citizens like help you more if you help them more?
Not that I've seen, but then again, like it makes sense contextually, because like, okay, so the whole thing is like there was this Egyptian police force that worked specifically in service of the pharaoh called the Magi, but they're also very much in service to the people, and like it was very much a protect and serve kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like whatever the people need help with, it's a Magi's job to help sort it out.
Got it.
And so like contextually, if Bayek, like knowing what I know about Bayek, if like if someone was like, hey, I need help with this, and nobody will help me, like like Bayek would be like, okay, I will help you with that thing.
That's good.
But that being said, like it's also like a good, like I love a good revenge story, and this game is definitely that. Because like Bayek's like after like, so Metal Gear Solid had the Patriots.
Yeah.
Which was like this secret organization that was like kind of akin to the Illuminati. And there's a secret order called the Ancients in this game, and so like Bayek's on this revenge quest to like kill each one of those people. Like he's trying to figure out who each one of them is, because they each have like a code name. Like there's the Jackal and the Snake and all this other stuff. So he figures out who that person is, and then he goes after them and kills them. And
what's the organization called?
The Ancients.
The Ancients.
Yeah.
Does that organization like really matter? Like, does like story wise, does it really matter? Because like think about, you're talking about Metal Gear Solid and the Patriots, and like you can experience all the important beats of that entire franchise, and the Patriots don't really matter.
So it's more
like,
akin
I guess
to,
they kind of do a Snake Eater, but
because
like,
contextually, like in like part of the Metal Gear Solid lore is like the Patriots are pulling all the strings and make all this shit happen, and it's kind of the same. Like, but at the same time, like at very 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 few points in the Metal Gear Solid lore do you encounter any of the Patriots. And spoiler alert, Metal Gear Solid 4, all the Patriots are a bunch of just AI computers. So like they're not actually dudes at that point. But like the Order, like the Ancients, actually they're called the Order of the Ancients, I think. And like they're basically like they dethrone Pharaoh, they displace pharaohs and put another pharaoh that they could control in place, and they're doing like all the secret like Illuminati bullshit. So but at the same time, Bayek really cares about who these people are and killing them because they are directly responsible for the death of his son. So he's like, every one of these people has to die for me to get my revenge.
So it's Watch Dogs.
Yeah, but
Watch Dogs in Egypt.
No, because I feel like I think that in Watch Dogs, like his niece's death was very much his fault.
Oh, he didn't see it that way.
Oh, he didn't see that. Well, actually, at the same time, like it starts like pretty early on that Aiden Pierce is pretty reprehensible, and like he spends the entire game like, that wasn't my fault, that's their fault. But like everybody takes every opportunity to be like, dude, Aiden, like this is your fault, dude. You were in the car chase that led to your fucking niece getting killed. Like you drug us into this shit. Whereas like Bayek was kind of just doing his duty, like to be a good father and like to be a good Egypt cop, and they
Egypt Vice.
and so these people, like Bayek being who he was, because like he's like, it's kind of like a Jedi situation where like the Jedi Order got wiped out, and like Bayek's kind of like the last of the Magi because like kind of wiped the little ones out too, but like they got to him because like they kidnapped his son because of him being a police officer, and then like that ended up being a whole thing where they cause a death. But like,
give me back my son.
Yeah, except like that's very different from like his son being dead because he was doing like a lot of shady shit that like ended up making these criminals kill his son. But like, no, I think that like I actively dislike Aiden Pierce.
Yeah.
And I very much like Bayek. Bayek of Siwa is his entire name. But I was thinking about it. I was playing this game, right? And like I said, like there is an increased emphasis on stealth in the game. But like I don't know if it's just because I just came off of this game or what. But I just feel like while Assassin's Creed gives you more tools to use in like stealth encounters and stuff, I just feel like the stealth in Mafia 3 was more intuitive. Like it was easier to because like there are a bunch of parts in Mafia 3 where you go to a hideout and take out guys, right?
Yeah.
And like it was very possible to like wipe out that entire hideout without anybody knowing that you were there. And if they knew that you were there, it was very possible to take them out without them ever finding you.
Yeah.
Whereas like with this, like it is conceivably possible to do that. I've gotten actually decently close to doing it in Assassin's Creed Origins, but it just seems so much more difficult because and I guess it has to do more with the openness of these environments. They can approach you from more angles than in Mafia 3.
Sure.
But it just seemed like it was just so much easier to like snatch a guy and stab him in the throat a couple times and then get rid of his body.
Yeah. I mean, it's, we talked about stealth like it's a genre, and it is. I guess it's
in
a
a
genre.
way.
But like if you look at Hitman versus Metal Gear versus Assassin's Creed versus Dishonored, like they all take on that stealth. Thief even like they take on stealth in very different ways.
Yeah, like I feel like stealth is always optional.
Yeah.
It's just some games make it easier not to be stealthy than others. Like some tools give you more tools to.
Like think about like Hitman, right? Like very frequently you're out in the open in Hitman.
Yeah. Well, Hitman is very much like a hiding in plain sight kind of deal, whereas Metal Gear Solid and Thief are very much like hiding in the shadows kind of thing. But I don't know. I think about like, and even in Wolfenstein, the reboot Wolfenstein, with when I first played New Order, I was surprised at how easy it was to be stealthy in that game. But at the same time, that game has like very clearly defined stealth sections.
Surprised it has stealth at all.
Yeah, and but it was also what I was impressed with was it was very easy to transition from stealth to like just open battle. Like if you got found out and that, whereas like with a lot of games that like have a heavy emphasis, like take Tenchu for example. Like going back to PS1. Like, you could, like, go head-to-head with a guy, right? But it wasn't always the easiest. It was actually kind of hard.
Very hard, yeah.
So it was all, like, so the game, like, through balancing made it so that you were just like, you really want to be stealthy.
Yeah.
There were like, the game had boss fights where, like, stealth wasn't an option or anything. But...
And that's what's, like, appealing about what we've seen of Sekiro is that, like... You can see the Tenchu influence there.
You're right.
You very much can, but at the same time, like they're out there fighting dudes. Right?
Yeah,
like,
and not only that, but like it looks fun to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas it is never fun in Tenchu.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I will like, and I have these mixed feelings about Assassin's Creed Origins because on one hand, with a lot of stuff that it's doing, it is like my favorite in the series. But on the other hand, like. Even some like the actual like the combat is really good, right? But like there are some things that like I kind of miss about the melee combat in those games.
Really?
Yeah. Like I feel like on one hand, like the combat has like a what do you call it? Has more impact to it. Like like those strikes landing like has like a lot of like heft and gravity to them.
Yeah.
And it's really satisfying to like get off like a really clean hit to a guy. At the same time though,
I feel like early Assassin's Creed combat feels like worse Arkham combat.
It's just
well,
like I think that no, because like true, but also Assassin's Creed combat all the way up until Origins. Well, I didn't play Unity or Syndicate or any of those others, but like Assassin's Creed 1 through Revelations, and even to an
You even played 3 or Black Flag?
no. What I'm gonna say is Assassin's Creed 1 through Revelations, and even to an extent, Black Flag. Black Flag was a little bit more active, but like those first 3 Assassin's Creed games, like combat was like a very passive experience.
Yeah, and it should have been.
It was just like, I'm gonna hold down this button, and like everybody who tries to hit me is just gonna get got until like everybody's dead. And like, but the only thing that was more appealing about that was it was more stylish.
Yeah.
I like that. I like all those flourishes and like I like the style of like the visual flair of that combat.
Sure.
Granted, the combat in Origins is like it's more brutal and violent, which is a good trade-off, I think. And also it plays like Dark Souls. So there's that too.
It looked like it did.
Yeah, it plays like if you could go from playing Dark Souls or Bloodborne and immediately be comfortable with the combat in Assassin's Creed.
Speaking of Bloodborne, I was going through the drawers of in the apartment complex, and I found our copy of Bloodborne for the PS4, and I'm trying to get Berto to play it again. I was like, Tom's playing it. You should play it.
I'm not really playing it.
I don't think he's gonna be playing it for a while, which is kind.
I started that and Metal Gear, and Metal Gear's kind of taken over.
Well, also that was before Berto got me God of War.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
I'm remaining hopeful that after Metal Gear Solid is finished, Tom will revisit Bloodborne.
Yeah.
So I So I'm playing God of War right now, so he can't have the PS4.
Yeah.
It is mine.
Get more, you know. Get more for.
Get more 4. Also, on a final note about stealth, it's really hard in Prey. I have a hard time with it in Prey.
Well, it's hard because the enemies in Prey are
They-
more stealthy than you are.
Because they can be anything.
Yeah.
Why don't you come a pack of smokes and come get me?
Yeah.
Terminator reference. Yeah, like, but even still though, even with those guys who are just like walking around, I don't know what you call them.
The gloops.
The bigger gloops that walk around like on I guess the legs, I guess, because they're not exactly limbs, they're just like gloops. Yeah.
Appendages?
But like they'll be walking around and I'll be like, okay, he doesn't see me yet. Then all of a sudden that fucking stealth meter fills up real fast, and then the next thing I know they're shooting shit at me.
Got that shotgun though.
I got it. And also, Tom's right. Guns in that game are cool, and especially that shotgun.
Yeah.
The shotgun is
It's really neat.
choice. And that's another thing too. Is like you need to have a good shotgun in your first-person shooter. I feel like you gotta.
Sure, and Prey is like not as much of a first-person shooter
Yeah.
as old Prey was.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's still like the main.
The weapons are like.
Yeah.
I remember when original Prey came out,
Yeah.
2006, 2007, and I was like, I remember playing it, I was like, this is game of the year. Like, this is game of the year. Like, nothing's gonna top it.
Jeez.
Granted, this is the same year that fucking Bioshock came out.
Yeah.
That was before I played Bioshock, though. But I was like, this is game of the year, right here. And I thought the guns at the time were cool.
I feel like that happens a lot earlier in the year. You're like, oh yeah, this
This
game.
is game of the year. But like,
By the
and
end of the year, something way better comes out.
when Tom and I were living together, I bought another copy of Prey because I thought I lost my copy of Prey. By the way, I own 2 copies of Prey now. But I played it, and I was like, this game has not aged well at all. Which I guess is fine, but it's just like Bioshock aged so much better. But that is actually like I don't even. But the thing is, I don't even remember all the games that came out that year. So by default, I'm saying Bioshock is game of the year because
I'm surprised you don't, because you're really good with dates.
I'm gonna say Fable 2 came out the same year.
Yeah, but I think I have.
I think.
I think you might be right, but I feel like I also have more affinity for Bioshock than I had for Fable 2.
Yeah, for sure. But I did love Fable 2. Best Fable.
Arguably, yes.
Yeah.
I hope Fable. Do you think we're done with Fable?
Oh, there's heavy rumors that there's a Fable in development.
We
right
saw
now.
that thing. You remember? We saw that like brief video of what like they were saying was Fable. Like it was behind the back.
I don't remember. Well, there was Fable Fortunes, which was canceled, I believe.
Yeah.
And then, but there are rumors of a new Fable.
I would be glad for another Fable.
Fable was 2008, Bioshock was 2007.
No, wait. Which Fable?
Fable 2.
Fable 2.
Okay, well, I was off by a year. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I mean, no, like it's real close.
How dare you?
Yeah. On Tom's show. You know?
Today of all days.
At my daughter's wedding.
Sure.
Shanee,
Yes.
closing thoughts?
I want to nerf Keyblade.
Okay. Tom?
I think the Phantom Pain is titled such for more than the obvious reasons.
I guess you'll find out.
Yeah.
Right?
Dante's Inferno is not as good as I remember. I played it, and I thought it was as good as I remember, and I played it again, and it's not as good as I remember.
That's great. There are great things about that game.
There are, like, visually, fantastic. That game still looks great. Those environments are still great, but that gameplay, yeesh. But if you haven't played Dante's Inferno, you should probably try because it's kind of an interesting look back in time. Anyway,
Also, I played it on PSP. And
what? That
Yeah.
game came out on PSP?
Yeah, and
Huh.
the interesting thing about it, I'm not sure who ported it. The interesting thing about it is like, it's the same game. It is the same game you play on 360.
Wow.
It just looks worse,
Huh.
but it is the exact same.
Hmm.
Yeah, pretty impressive for the time.
Yeah. I would like to go back to 2010 and play that again because I'll like it more. That's the show for this week, guys. As always, my name is Ryan Robinson. That's Shanee Howard. Tom Shelby.
Goodbye.
See you next week.
Bye, guys.